You know, I think that also, as I think more about Gen Z as well, one of the things that's come up statistically is they are spending less time with God and also less time in religious services. What this is going to do, again, part of this is they don't know how to connect with God and with other people. And so there really are, it's really a social disability as well that many of these Gen Zers have due to never really learning in the first place. You know, again, as I mentioned here, here's another big contributing factor: loss of religion. Attendance of religious services. 29% of baby boomers attend weekly religious services like church or synagogue. 23% of millennials, and only 13% of Gen Z attend weekly. And of course, that's much, much lower, less than half of baby boomers. 28% of millennials consider praying regularly essential to their faith, while only 17% of Gen Z consider it essential. As I mentioned earlier, I really think that what prayer is it's a two-way communication between you and God. It's a conversation between you and God, expressing your gratitude and praise of God, making your requests known to God, having a conversation, and then sitting there in stillness and listening to see what the voice of God, which could be very similar to your conscience, says, and what you start to really feel and see and hear spiritually and mentally of what God is impressing upon you. But I don't think that Gen Zers really understand that because, and many of them don't, because they're spending so much time on social media, just absolutely sucked in. And they haven't really been able to build deep, meaningful relationships where you sit there and really listen to somebody and express back and forth and are mutually supportive in that way. And here's another issue related to this. Gen Z, because they're less religious, they are replacing God with other things in their life. Listen, everybody has something they worship. Everybody has a God, whether it's the God of the Judeo-Christian religion, or they worship idols, money, fame, politics, or our government today. 70% of Gen Zers around the world say they're involved in a social or political cause. 70%. So 13% regularly attend religious services and are engaged in religion. 70% of Gen Zers say they're involved in a social or political cause. In 2016, only 24% of American youth considered themselves politically active. By 2021, 36%. Now it's 70%. At the same time, rates of depression in youth are rising. The percentage of teenagers who reported persistent feelings of hopelessness and sadness increased from 28% in 2011 to 42% in 2021. So political activism leads to higher stress and poor health, according to a medical study. The study found out that those who were politically active, 65%, were stressed out. But in the group who were not political activists, 32% were stressed out, which was affecting their mental health. By the way, that's more than a double increased rate.
Okay, so that's all we're going to take from his video. So like I said, check out the entirety of the video on his channel. So before we wrap up, let's touch on those last two parts: spirituality and political activism and the effects of both. Do you want to go first?
I think I like just hearing him and stuff like that, understanding that religion is a big part of his life, right? And me being, I kind of float between agnostic and atheism. So to me, it wasn't a big deal for me if I was religious, because to me it didn't really affect my mental health, right? But as I get older, right, and we all know that life is about perspective, I see why people would go to it as a means, right? So the first part is the community. The aspect of being in something and sharing something with people is very strong and can lift people out of like certain things and certain bad habits. You know, when you have someone who believes in something that you do, right, it's much easier, for better or for worse, to get out of whatever you're doing. You know, especially I see it a lot with like the older people, with like the elderly. It's like they go to religious services every day, and um, I like interacting with like other people within the church and their own community. I feel like it gives them uh, a reason to keep going, right? And I didn't mean to make it so dark, but yeah, a reason to keep going and
Dark.
oh my god. And it just like I think just in addition as to why uh you know they don't give up. You know, because sometimes you have the stories of like where people like especially elderly people, their family just doesn't check up on them and they're alone and stuff like that. So in a way, if it had to relate to Gen Z, I could see the same thing happening too, where it's like they reach out at first because it's like they're lonely and they're skeptical, right? But then they end up enjoying it because not only do they get a sense of hope, right? They get a community with that hope, and I think that that's a very strong thing to be a part of. And now, as far as the political activism, I could see why people would be stressed a lot these days. I'd like to think that even political activists of the past went through similar stress. It just, of course, wasn't reported back then for inequality reasons. You know, because as you know, with like the Black Panthers and everything, therapy was less accessible to people of color. So yeah, I don't think that that has really changed. I think that that has been more and more highlighted, especially now with actual studies and stuff like that. And I think that that's a good thing to highlight. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so for me, I'm a Catholic Christian. I been getting closer to my faith. I've been on a pretty lengthy spiritual journey since 2019, but it kind of go check out my spiritual journey video, by the way. But it to summarize, it started since 2024. I mean, for me, I agree on pretty much everything that he said about in regards to that. I do feel that when you have a connection to a higher power, and for me at least, that connection has helped me internally to heal a lot of things that were done to me as a child, things that I had no control over, things that I went through, whether it was bullying, isolation, struggling with mental health, struggling with my medical health, violence that I lived through, as well as helping me heal a lot of wounds from the mistakes that I made in my early 20s to even in my 30. I'm 31 right now. One thing that as somebody, like I said, I'm no professional, I'm no expert when it comes to religion. I don't really consider myself religious. I consider myself a full-on Christian. I, a little bit more on the Catholic side, but that doesn't mean that I agree with everything. And I bring that up to say that I hate or strongly dislike when religious people make it seem to those who aren't that the minute that you decide, oh, if you believe in God and you give yourself to God, your life will completely change. Right. It's not like that. It took me years from the moment that I said, you know what, I need to get closer to God for things to start changing. And guess what? Even when I did get closer to God, it was the complete opposite. I had so many doors opened up to my past, and I was constantly in depression. These last few months, I don't really speak on it, but I was struggling through a lot of depression because I've had to confront a lot of things from my past in order to heal them. I have shared this on multiple occasions. I'm not a lonely person, but I struggle being able to feel like I connect or I fit in with people, including the ones that I consider my best of friends and close family members. It's taken me years. It took me years of knowing Jesus and Ian and even my cousin for me to let my guard down and let them get as close as they are now. But for so many years, I kept them at an arm's length. That didn't mean that I didn't talk to them or hung out with them. I did. That didn't mean that I didn't care about them, but it's something because of my past traumas that it's made it hard for me to trust. And I think even now with my spirituality, yeah, I'm able to be by myself. Because before, I used to think that I needed to be in a relationship in order to be a man. I needed to be with 1,000 women in order to be a man. I needed to be aggressive. I needed all this, toxic bullshit that we criticize all these online alpha males are doing. I used to believe that. Now, I want to add in parentheses, difference between assertive and being whatever the hell they're trying to push. But anyways, but one thing I don't think that the minute that you start getting close to the church, everyone is going to have the same experience of just, oh, I feel not alone anymore. That's not true. Because I've been at church. I've been around, even the groups of friends that I've met at church, and I still feel alone. That's something that you still need to work on. To me, it's like it's like finding a light in the tunnel again, right? Finding a flashlight, a very strong flashlight. That's how I see my faith in one regard. That doesn't mean that I praying, I'm gonna pray away every little aspect of it. No. And I'm gonna do a separate video about, this experience. So hopefully you guys will tune in for that. But I don't like that. I don't like when Christians or religious people try to show that, when a lot of the time they don't practice themselves, right? But they try to show that to skeptics or atheists or agnostics or people who are just struggling with their faith. And I want to speak with all transparency because I know I knew how that felt. And I'm still walking in my spiritual journey. But to pretend like, oh, well, I just turned my life around the minute that I said, God, take control. No, it wasn't like that. And it's not like that. Right? But that's at least on the spiritual end. I suggest getting closer to some sort of higher power? Yes, I do. But that should be your choice. You shouldn't be shamed into doing so. The God that I serve, the God that I love, loves you for who you are. He's not going to be judging you. Oh, well, for this long, you denied me. For this, you done this and you done this and you done that. No. Religious people will. And religious people are some of the most hypocritical people, the most judgmental people, the most hateful and bitter people. You got to be careful with those people.
I think you're going against your own point here by saying it's not convincing people to join the cause.
No. Because here's the I guess I'm glad you kind of bring that up, because to me, I want to promote your spirituality, your faith and connection in a higher power compared to a establishment.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the establishment, you have to obey other people's laws. You have to deal with other people. You're going to be criticized. And a lot of the time, because I went through this, your perception of what God or a higher power is starts being manipulated because of your experience with people. It took me getting closer to God, not to people who are religious. You get me? Like, that's one thing that I want to
the distinction.
Yes. Now to wrap up, on the political activist side, no shit that people who are in those fields are going to be stressed out. It comes with the job, right?
Yeah.
Now, for those who are online just being rage baited and getting upset over it, and they think that with a tweet or a post or a dislike or whatever the fuck, that's social activism. No. If you're not about the cause, stay away from it. There's way too much chaos happening in this world, and you do not, unless you're out there, right? you're not gonna have any real significant contribution.
Right.
Especially nowadays that everything's so politicalized, especially online. It's all noise. And if you fall into the noise and I'm going back and forth with people who on a account that I don't even know who's behind that account, but going back and forth arguing about whatever situation, that is just adding on to the problems with your mental health, right? And as a society, I talked about this in our video of Chris Brown. Go check that out, by the way. We are more focused right now, at least what I perceive, about controlling how other people think, how other people speak, how other people do, instead of focusing on ourselves, our self growth. To us, it's just how we're going to silence the other people and how are we going to prove that we're right, our cause is right, our debate is right, and this regardless of whatever political side you stand on. Both sides have this bullshit, whether you're conservative or a liberal. Both sides have this niche group of its population that all they want is to argue and to be right and to make noise. They don't really care about the causes. They just want to feel that they're in power. They're they're the ones in the right, and that's it. And if you're one person that you're like, look, I care about people. I care about a lot of these causes, but at the end of the day, I know I got too much going on in my life to put that much energy to online political activism. Because that, again, that's not going to do anything. If you want to be more engaged into that, go ahead. My hat off to you, because that takes a lot of energy. I know from experience. But if you don't and you just want to live your life, stay away from that shit. Because that's going to eat you alive. So with that being said, like I said, check out the entirety of the video from his channel. We agreed and disagreed on some of the stuff, right? Like I said earlier, this is just our opinions and our perceptions. We're not here to debunk or to dismiss or anything. Everyone's always going to have a different opinion and different perspective on a lot of these topics, and that's okay. One thing that I want, and I feel me and my team here on this channel, we're trying to push our mission is to be able to have that open dialogue, right? Discuss some of these uncomfortable topics and debate, disagree, right? Create that open space for people to be able to talk about stuff like that, because that's the only way we're going to start seeing changes little by little changes, and starting a more healthier cycle so that later on the next generations can continue that. But if we're going to continue on the way that we're going, then no shit. Those cases, those statistics of mental health are going to continue going up. And unfortunately, suicide as well. And I don't want that for nobody. I don't want that for Gen Z. Like, I don't want that for millennials. Like, I don't want that for the prior generations. And I don't want that for our younger future generations either, guys. If you're struggling with that something, please look for help however you can. And always, I know I might be a stranger here on air, but always remember, A, if you are looking for a higher power, I was a piece of shit in my past. And God had grace for me. He'll have grace for you. Just be careful when it comes to the people that you surround yourself, when it comes to religion, right? And the other stuff, if you're struggling with your mental health, please take care of it. Do not stay in that area. You deserve better. I don't care what has happened to you. I don't care what people have told you. You deserve better. And I know from experience that sometimes we want to believe instead that we don't. But you're going to just hurt yourself more and more and more. And you deserve to be healed, and you deserve to be happy. You deserve to be healthy. As cheesy as that might be, and that's not being manly enough. You gotta do. Shut the fuck up. This is not. I'm speaking for the people who want help. So, guys, take care of yourselves. Honestly, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. Get it out of that mindset. That's the first step. There is no one solution to your problems in life. Coming from somebody in his 30s, if I can speak to you guys, younger people, there is no one solution. I was in my 20s like Jesus was in his early 20s as well. And we struggled. We didn't know. We were confused. We were lost. We fed into a lot of this political bullshit and all this, back and forth debates also. But you deserve happiness. That's my message I want to leave off with. Jesus, any wrap up thoughts?
I think that you explained it perfectly. I don't think I can add anything to that. I just want to say, guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment your experiences down in the comments. We love reading those. And we hope you guys stick around for more content.
Also, follow us on our social medias. We are on Facebook and TikTok. We'll be also creating more accounts, Twitter and Discord in the future. So please hit that like, that share, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you guys next time. Please take care. God bless.
Bye.